welcome back to the Garland Gab. I believe this is episode 9. Can you believe that? I counted the other day just to double check because I've lost count. Today we are going to be delving into Judy's early starring role in Everybody Sing, her probably biggest pre-Oz film to this date. But we'd like to start with introductions, and we are so delighted to welcome back the beautiful Carly Jade from Ontario, Canada. She couldn't miss the last one, but it's lovely to have you back.
Oh, thank you so much. It is so nice to be back. I've missed you guys and missed our audience and just missed talking all about Judy.
Yeah, we've got our usual trio here for this one. From Waterford Island, I went to say Waterford, Canada. Connor Grant.
Hello, hi everyone. Can't get rid of me. I'm like a bad penny. I keep coming back.
And also like a bad penny is myself. I'm back. I'm ready to host this one. So hang in there with me. Okay, so we'll just start off with I'll just give a brief overview of the plot of Everybody Sing, and then I'll open it up for, before we dissect it, scene by scene and, everything else, production history, wherever. We'll just get people's general overall opinions of the film. Now, the plot is actually based around Judy. She is the protagonist. She plays Judy Belair, she's expelled from her school for singing jazz instead of the traditional classical music, because she's such a little rebel. She is singing this lovely music. So she gets kicked out and sent home, and her family dynamic is absolutely crazy. It's a screwball comedy / musical. She's got a theatrical family who have fallen on some hard financial times. The dad is trying to produce a show with her mum, played by Billy Burke of the Wizard of Oz fame. A little bit of foreshadowing there. She's the lead actress. It's made all the more chaotic by the fact she insists on playing with Gerald, this really stuffy actor who no one else seems to like. And Judy, with the help of the chef and the cook, Ricky and Olga, played by Alan Jones and Fanny Bryce, who we'll get into more later, they set out to put on a show to try and save the family dynamic, and that is pretty much it in a basic nutshell. So I'm just going to open it out, and then I'll give my opinions on this film, what your general feelings are about this film overall, without going too deep into it just yet.
You start, Carly, because it's your first one back.
All right, I guess I can start. I really quite like this film. It is one that so I'll be honest with you, I'm exposing myself. Feel free to take my Judy card away. This was when I rewatched it for the podcast. This was only my second time ever watching it. I'd only ever seen it once, and that was when I went through my first round of going through her filmography. So it was a really nice treat. So that was obviously many years ago that I did that. So this was a nice little treat, going back into it again and seeing it again when I am much further into, I like to call it my Judy journey, as you guys know. But no, it was really good. It was very cute. The other thing, obviously, we will dive into it a bit later, but it is the first one that her first film where the plot is centered around her, and she is the main character of the film. No, it's great. I wanted to say Alan Jones, such a dish. He is absolutely gorgeous. and Fanny Bryce, lovely as always. And it is so great to see Billy Burke playing her mom, which of course, this is riding on the coattails of Wizard of Oz. Wizard is coming up very, very quickly after this. So no, it was really, really interesting to see that.
I agree. It's and I think I'm the same, Carly. It's one I didn't see for a very long time. It was one of the last ones of her films that I actually watched. It's definitely just a screwball comedy of the 30s, with songs in there. But yeah, having rewatched it for this again, I really enjoyed it. I'd actually forgotten how much fun it is of a film. the one thing that gets a bit overwhelming, I think, is the kind of screwball comedy aspect of it, in that it's very 30s and they kind of talk over each other and shout over each other quite a bit in some of the family scenes, which is a little bit off-putting. But once you get over that, it's hugely enjoyable. It's what I would call a harmless film. There's nothing too, heavy in it. It's light, it's fun, it's frothy. Judy is the main character and star of it. I agree, Alan Jones. I forgot quite just how handsome he actually was. And
I actually sorry, go ahead.
Go on.
I was just going to say, I actually meant to say that as well, how, it's a bit overwhelming, everyone kind of shouting over each other, and the energy of everybody in the film. You would swear that they may have drank like 8 Red Bulls before they started filming. They're all just like vibrating, like, you want to be on my show?
I wondered if it was something to do with the fact that, say, a lot of the adult characters in it would have been sort of veteran stage performers. So maybe that, because it's an early type of a film, it's filmed in 1937, so maybe it's still a little bit of that kind of stage acting, even though it's a film. I don't know, but they are projecting very loud, and so
Yeah.
and sometimes the microphones of the time, I don't think, can cope with it. But having said that, actually, and I'm really going off on a big tangent here now, I believe, say, the Warner Archive DVD is unremastered, so it's not probably sound balanced and different things the way, say, Meet Me in St. Louis or Oz or one of the bigger ones has been. And to be honest, Fanny Bryce nearly steals the movie, in my opinion. She's that close to stealing it away. I think she's hilarious as Olga. And I'm going to shut up now because I'm just rambling.
I agree over the Warner copy of the DVD, because I managed to watch this one twice before this podcast, and I've seen it many times before, where she even the picture quality wasn't great. It was like I was watching it when I was young. I was the opposite of you. This was the first pre-Oz Judy film that I saw, and it used to be like one of my favourite pre-Oz ones because she was in it so much. She had so many numbers. I like the musical numbers, but I totally agree about the screwball aspect on it. It might be quite sacrilege to say this, but Billy Burke really annoys me.
I agree.
Sorry, but she does my head in. Sorry. And that was the kind of role she plays. And you're right, she was from the theatre. She was married to Florence Ziegfeld, wasn't she? She was, very theatrical. And those early 30s comedies were that sense. Judy was still a little bit with her performance. She hadn't quite come down. And I agree about Fanny Bryce, even though she was, famous for vaudevillian stage actress, she manages to get the comedy quite right, just right. Over time, I've started to appreciate Judy's other earlier films more than this one, because this one we really start getting the kind of ugly duckling thing coming through, which will elaborate on more shortly. And I just feel like the likes of Listen Darling, the performance is more natural. You can see Dorothy coming in there more thoroughbred. She's a different kind of character. But no, that's just my overall feeling. But that leads us on to the next section, which is showcasing Judy as the star. So basically, as we've already mentioned, it's the first vehicle that's specifically built around Judy. She's the main protagonist, and she has many musical numbers, she has many scenes. And then if the trailer basically is all about, we predict Judy Garland for stardom. If you've seen the trailer, have you got anything to add about the trailer?
Well, it's interesting. It always kind of gives me shivers, I guess, whenever I see anything sort of predicting Judy Garland to be a big star. You know what I mean? Because she really did. She became the Miss Show Business. She became the world's greatest entertainer. And to see that it was predicted all the way back to when how old is she? 15 in this film? right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it being predicted that early that's a major testament to her talent and her ability to draw in an audience at, you know, even that age.
This smart Hollywood crowd has sensed a great hit in Everybody Sing. And from all advance reports, Judy Garland will become an overnight sensation.
Hello, Walter. Here's big news for your column. Biggest crowd in years at Everybody Sing. Judy Garland will be the nation's new singing star.
It's just picking up on what Carly was saying about seeing the trailer, doing the whole, we predict Judy Garland will be a sensation in pictures and all this. It's actually interesting or almost mad to see a time when she wasn't famous, because she became so famous at such a young age and then was elevated to such a legendary status even in her own lifetime, that it's actually interesting to see that period of time when she was up and coming and she was kind of about to burst through, you know.
And that leads on to the billing. Now in the film, in the opening credits, she receives third billing after Alan Jones and Fanny Bryce. And then in the end credits, she's bumped up to second billing above Fanny Bryce, which is, I don't think people nowadays realise how actually legendary Fanny Bryce was. I mean, she was quite something else. So that is a big thing for Judy to be billed above her. And then the copy that was sent out, you know, the posters and things, often Alan Jones would still be top billed, but often Judy would be the one highlighted, you know, like Here Comes Judy, stardom for Judy.
I think you're absolutely right. Most people today, if they know Fanny Bryce, are going to know her from Funny Girl. But you can't underestimate, just, you're right, she was a Ziegfeld star, which was massive in the teens and 20s. And she was hugely famous for the Baby Snooks. I'm sure anybody who watches Everybody Sing and then sees the Baby Snooks routine later on towards the end is probably like, what is this? But that was such a big radio.
I love that number. Stop.
I love it too.
Oh, so do I.
But I actually saw some YouTube comments on that number, you know, and people are like, oh, that's embarrassing, a 40-year-old woman pretending to be an infant. I was like, it's a joke, people. It's just, you know. And it was actually something I thought of the other day, just again about the billing above Fanny Bryce at the end. Like, by this point in Judy's career, Fanny Bryce is the second legendary woman of the stage after Sophie Tucker that she's performed with and been in a film with. And I think that just again is a testament to show that, you know, the powers that be were aware that she was on a level of these legendary ladies, you know. So that was it.
And I keep saying, I'll elaborate later. There's also the connection to Ethel Merman and Roger Edens, which I've got a fabulous quote about later in the podcast, which is another indication of the level young Judy was on. It's a long quote, so I'll have to shorten it, but I just, I loved everything. But also, these women like Ethel Merman, Fanny Bryce, Sophie Tucker, Judy actually became like friends as an adult with these.
Yeah.
And, you know, gained a lot of like respect from them. And it was actually Fanny Bryce, wasn't it, who, like, you know, pushed her to go on in the palace when she was having second thoughts.
Yes.
Yes. Basically told her to get her arse out there.
Absolutely. I was going to say something now and it's coming out of my head altogether. It might come back to me. It was something brilliant.
So
I remember.
Oh, yay!
That at one stage, as far as I know, way in the early time of Funny Girl, been a concept. I read Judy was considered to play Fanny Bryce at one point or another before it became, say, Funny Girl, and way before Streisand or anything ever became involved.
Yeah, that's true. I believe I've read that.
Mm.
I mean, now you can't imagine anyone but Streisand's playing the role, can you?
No.
But if Streisand does have never existed, it would have had to have been Judy.
Well, I mean, as Joan Allison said, if they could have put Judy in every film ever made, they would have. Anything musical like she could do.
Okay, now moving on. Last little subsection before we break down the scenes is this bit, which I don't really like very much. It's Judy's image, which we've touched on in a lot of podcasts. I've got many references to the Ugly Duckling. Some unflattering costumes. Some are okay. Some of the costumes I like. Some of them I don't. It was originally sort of conceived as the Judy Garland story early on, even though it's nothing like her life story. Early working titles were Swing Fever, and unfortunately a big working title which stuck for a while was The Ugly Duckling. I'll start with Carly with this because I can see your face.
Oh my God. It just, I've made my feelings on this particular topic known many times, but it just to me is unimaginable that she's even remotely considered to be an ugly duckling. But when I heard that one of the early working titles of the film was The Ugly Duckling, of all the things they could concentrate on for that film, they decided to, it was actually a thought in their mind that they were going to name the film after what they perceived as Judy's image. And that to me is ridiculous. The other thing that I wanted to mention as well is that, oddly enough, you can really start to see Judy's young teenage beauty start to shine through in this film, particularly in the very beginning during Swing, Mr. Meddlesome Swing. I always thought she was absolutely gorgeous in that number. She's, her hair is cute. She's got the cute little uniform. Sarah, you got the shirt. And I just thought, what's wrong with her appearance? Why is she being called an ugly duckling? I don't get it. And then of course the line spoken by Billy Burke, oh, poor little ugly duckling, oh well, mother loves you anyway. So you're saying that your appearance is what is the way your mother loves you is based on your appearance? Oh my God. Anyway, I'm gonna stop talking now, but that's my feelings on it.
Well, I was just before you go, Connor, sorry, I was watching the commentary, listening to the audio commentary for Me and My Shadows between the director and Lorna Luft. They were talking about, Judy's appearance. It was the scene, where she's in the makeup room, which we know did really, things like that did really happen to Judy. And Lorna was like, well, I always thought my mum was just drop dead gorgeous. Well, yes, because even in a book, she said she was physically in the person, she was one of the most beautiful women she'd ever seen, with a gorgeous was, but she didn't look the way they thought beauty should be back then, which infuriates me, because if you look at the girl who plays her sister, Lynn Carver, she is very, very pretty. And she's very sweet with Judy in the film. She's one of the few family members nice doing it, but she's not extraordinary, because she's there's a dime a dozen of her in those films. And funny enough, what was considered attractive then, with she's got very thin lips and thin eyebrows, that's not really considered attractive nowadays. Nowadays, Judy with her full lips, her big eyes, and expressive eyebrows. Well, I don't like the duck lips, Connor. No,
That was me joking.
But Judy had really, full good lips. She'd be considered attractive now.
And I've always said this before on previous podcasts, but her looks were so unique, and she really did stand out from the other women. And I think that's probably why a lot of people now are so drawn to her, is that she was not like the rest. She was very unique in her appearance. And I guess MGM just didn't know what to do with that. They didn't know, they couldn't see that they could, run with that rather than fight it and call her an ugly duckling. But yeah, she's always been one of the most gorgeous women I've ever seen. Dorothy Gale, not gonna lie, Dorothy Gale was my first childhood crush. So
but yeah, when we spoke about the Pigskin podcast, 20th Century Fox, as we said, did know what to do with her. She had great hair, you know, her hair's just a little bit dropped. It's not like up on top with big bows everywhere, you know, good costumes. So I think it's just this image they were creating for her, but I think she was cute as a button in everybody's thing, probably like the cutest I've seen her in her pre-Oz things. When we go through the scenes, I'll mention some of those. But sorry, Connor, did you have anything to add?
No, I'm kind of echoing what you were saying, and just picking up on Lorna when she commented on, you know, in person, her mum being so gorgeous. If you look at any black and white photos of Judy, but then see a colour photo, the colour, she's just, her skin, it really is gorgeous in person, no matter what era you're looking at of her. She's in colour, she just, I don't know if the black and white, you know, the way it suits some people and maybe it doesn't suit others or something in unretouched photos. She's incredible in the colour. And you're talking about the style of MGM and what to do with her. You know, the way I have my costumes that I absolutely hate, and I have taken such a dislike to the Down on Melody Farm dungarees, we call them dungarees, you might know them as overalls, that they put her in for this.
But I don't mind the dungarees.
Do you know? I don't like them.
I personally despise the end costume.
Oh yeah,
those weird pants.
Yes, yeah.
Pants, what are they? Like the extra long knickerbockers gone wrong. But anyway, speaking of that, that'll move us into the scene by scene breakdown. I'll just get this up. Right, with the previous Judy films, I've broke them down individual scenes. This time I've done them in sort of chunks, if that makes sense, because she's in scenes that might run into one, otherwise we'll be forever. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I've got like a chunk of scenes. So the first ones I've got is the credits, Mr. Mendelssohn's scene, and the scene in the principal's office. And I've got this as Judy's introduction and setting up her character. Now, before anyone says anything, I just want to say that the actual Mr. Mendelssohn is again, but it's my favourite part of the whole film. So yeah, so it just starts on a high to me. So I'll open it up on your two opinions on these few scenes.
So I should actually say that scene was actually my first exposure to Judy outside of Oz, because that they showed that clip in it was a documentary, the 50th
I was going to say
hosted.
this.
Yes, hosted by Angela Lansbury.
Can I just say, sorry to interrupt you, I was going to say, any Oz fans have actually seen bits of this film and they don't realise it.
She had been billed as the little girl with the great big voice.
In my singing school, I am one of many.
By the time she is 15 years old, her name has been changed from Frances Gumm to Judy Garland. And she has been under contract to MGM for almost 3 years. She can sing and dance, she can play drama or comedy. Anyone in Hollywood who has seen her perform at benefits or private parties knows Judy Garland is destined for stardom. Leroy and Freed convinced Maya that Oz could be her breakthrough. Judy must lose some weight, but the part of Dorothy is hers.
But
Yes.
Speaking of, that documentary is the kind of documentary people should be watching about Oz,
Yes.
and not what we get now. But,
Available as a standalone disc from the Warner Archive at the moment. Plug, please don't block us on copyright grounds.
It's my favorite. It's my favorite documentary on Oz, and a big piece of that is because it's what I used to watch when I was about 4 or 5 years old. When I had the VHS copy played it at the very end of the film, so I'd always watch it all the way through, and I'd get so excited when I'd hear that opening bars and then see that still footage of them. And anyway, So that is actually my first exposure to Judy outside of Oz. And I remember as a kid being just thinking that is so weird, like seeing Dorothy not in her costume and not in the gingham. And yeah, so that opening bit has always held a special place in my heart because that's what I grew up with.
I agree 100%. It's such a strong opening to the film. You know, because she's so modern and jazzy and swinging, and she's like corrupting the Catholic schoolgirls. In my head, that's what she's doing. I don't think they are Catholic schoolgirls, but that's just, you know. And Sarah, picking up on what you said at the very beginning when you were summarising the plot, I think it's hilarious. This is what she gets expelled for, is singing jazz.
Yeah.
Like,
it's singing. Like,
yeah. Like, it's not like she was, you know, smoking around the back of the toilets or something like that. It's like she was singing jazz.
Headmistress wants to come to some of the schools we've got nowadays.
Oh, she'd lose her life. Like, but, you know, I think that's probably a reflection of the times that, you know, jazz and swing music was considered sort of, you know, the rock and roll of the 60s. The swing music was the version of it in the 30s. It was, you know, it was considered the naughty music or whatever.
You were a rebel.
Rebel,
like,
rebel. Swing, Mr. Mendelssohn. You're so...
I also love the part when she squishes her nose against the window
so
too.
Cute.
Isn't that just the cutest thing?
Oh, adorable.
Turns her head. I say, that's so cute with the big massive eyes. How can that be considered an ugly duckling? But then the following scene in the the headmistress's or principal, whatever you say, his office, where she says, I can't help it, you know, when I hear music it gets to me, she starts going da, 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 da.
You've corrupted this school for the last time.
But I can't help it, Miss Calvin. Honestly, I can't. I don't know why, but when I hear music, it does something to me. And when I sing, it comes out da 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 da.
That will do.
That's quite enough now.
Stop it. She's just like, yeah, she's so infectious, isn't she?
Mm.
And it's just so her too. That scene is so her, so Judy. You know, it's perfect for her opening introduction.
You, Connor, and you, Carly, found the family, the screwball bit too much, too loud. I said I love this opening section. I would have loved to have seen a film centred in this school with Judy like corrupting it with a jazz. I would have loved to have seen a film set there.
It should have
been such a good idea.
Yeah, because isn't it referenced in the film that she's been expelled 4 times out of 4 different schools? They should have just had a film following Judy Belair through her expulsions at school.
That's what I was going to say there a second ago. What was she singing jazz in all the schools? Is that why she was expelled? Like,
what a Judy.
What a Judy.
So then we move on. She's been expelled, and we get to the scenes where she gets back home trying to speak to her family members one by one. Speaking to Olga and Ricky in the kitchen, and then the dinner table scene, and the scene with her sister in the bed, and then the morning after. So in these scenes, we're getting to know the family dynamic and Judy's place within it. Anyone?
Connor, you can go ahead first.
Will I go first? I don't mind. It's your I won't say comeback. What is it Norma Desmond calls it? A return. It's your return.
I like the word comeback because I just think of Judy, right?
Okay, comeback.
Did you go
only
to the
on my first though, not 108th? Sorry, what did you say?
Did you go to the powder room? Every time I go to the powder room, I make a comeback.
Yeah, these scenes I think are the start of exactly what we're saying about the kind of screwball comedy of it, where it's a little bit overpowering, and Billy Burke sometimes actually can't hear a word she's saying. You have to really kind of strain to hear what she's saying, you know. Like, it's funny, but you could tone it down, Billy, like, you know. Yeah, it's very cute. So again, this is maybe the word for this whole film is the cuteness with Judy. But when she finally goes to the kitchen to talk to Ricky and Olga, and she's crying because nobody else will listen to her, and they're the only two that listen to her. When she sits on Alan Jones's lap and starts playing with the buttons on his chef jacket, I can't cope.
You and Olga are the only ones who care what happens to me.
Sure we do.
Bet your life,
Look,
darling.
see, we're all ears. Now sit down here and tell us all about it.
Well, I've been expelled again.
What? Expelled?
Yes, and Miss Carvin said that if I kept on the way I was going, I'd come to a bad end.
Don't you worry, darling. That's what they said about me.
But what did you do to make the old hen so mad?
Yeah, what?
What did I do?
Yeah.
Hey, what? Well, look, I'll show you what I did. I went, die-die-do-die-dum, die-die-do-die-die-die, da-ra-da-da-da-da-ra-da-da-da-ra-da-da, hey, 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 and I turned around and there.
Like, as well, she's 15, and I'm presuming this character is meant to be younger than 15 because this is what they were doing with her, because I don't know a 15-year-old.
Later on, they say you've got a girl under the age of 15 playing in this theatre.
Oh, okay, so she is, yeah, that's true.
Usually, in these MGM films, she was usually playing 12, 13.
Yeah. But it's, look, leaving that aside, it's still super cute, and I really feel sorry for her that, you know, she's trying to tell her troubles to the family and they're not listening to her.
Well, that's why I get she spends this whole this film trying to save the family, and they're absolutely horrible too.
Yeah.
Because these scenes are where we do get, oh, ugly duckling, Mama loves you anyway, oh, look at your hair. And then she's, you know, snuggles in bed with her sister who is nice to her. And the next morning, her mum says, oh, you're looking very pretty this morning, both of you, even Judy.
Play Gerald's part.
Someone else? Why?
Oh, he's a rotten actor, Mummy. Uncle Jack thinks so, too.
Judy.
We're utterly mad, you know, forgetting your husband, your children.
Judy, stop that this minute. We've been listening to your father. Hello? Oh, hello, Gerald, dear. Oh, perfectly splendid. Run along, children. You're looking very pretty this morning, both of you, even Judy. So pretty.
She does look lovely in her satin pajamas and a little hair tie.
It's very nice.
She does look lovely, but and that's, I'm going to put this out here now. Even we're introduced to Gerald in this section, who is, you know, a stuffy, stuck-up, really bad actor, and the dad doesn't like him, so he's causing problems within the family. But he likes supports Judy when she sings at the Cafe Napa, which we'll get to later. Even at the end, just before he gets arrested, he's smiling as he's watching her. He actually treats Judy better than her mum and dad, and even gets, you know, the sister pretends to be in love with him. That's not his fault. He probably genuinely did love the sister, and he gets treated really bad. Sorry, that's just my little rant. But anyway, sorry, Carly, your opinions of these few scenes.
Well, just that it's, you know, very cute, and what you guys have already said. But one of the things that, again, feel free to take my Judy card away, but you know who the dad is? The dad played in The Pirate as the one that's coaxing Judy out of the room. How did I not know that?
Did you not know that?
Can I give you one more thing?
Did you not know that?
Yes.
No, I did. Not that, but can I give you one more thing about the dad that I only discovered? Yes. He's the neighbour in Mary Poppins setting off the cannonballs.
Admiral Boom. Yeah. Yes. He's in another.
Well. You knew that?
Yes. I knew that one from Pirate because I recognized him in Pirate, and I'm like, oh, that's Admiral Boom. But I had no idea he played the dad, and everybody's saying, wow. Anyway, I'll probably cut that out.
A different thing, though, to take my Judy cards away. I knew those things, but I used to think Reginald Gardner, who, you know, plays Gerald, was the one who played the Viceroy in The Pirate. For years, I was convinced it was in him until I checked the names. I'm going, oh, both of these are in Everybody Sing. I'm going around saying all this.
Oh boy. Anyway, sorry, I'm new here.
But going back to the kitchen scene, I love the kitchen scene too. And again, she gets to sing a little bit there, and they also nice to her, Ricky and Olga. And
sorry, Sarah, I'm cutting across you there. It's the little details, but the way when they ask her, what did you do to make the old bat so mad at you, or whatever, referring to the headmistress, the way she goes, what did I do? It's just, I don't know, it's just super adorable.
I know. She is so cute. But don't those three have a really lovely chemistry together?
Love it. They should have just made a film.
One of the other things too that this is kind of goes for the whole film because she does it all throughout, but here comes another signature Judy move. All the little faces that she makes kind of when she's not the center of attention on the screen, like she'll just throw out like a little or something like that, you know what I mean? Like
I think, I can't remember where it was, but I think she does that one again at one point, doesn't she? The Wizards of Oz, Andy Hardy one.
There's
Wizard of Oz, she does when she's throwing the water, she goes like that.
Does it in Love Finds Andy Hardy when Lana Turner walks
That's it.
Yeah.
In the drugstore.
The close-up though when Gerald's doing his lines, that was really funny when she's like,
free. I'll never be afraid again.
Maybe we are mad, but it's a lovely madness.
Yeah.
She has some great facial expressions in this.
And even really the scene with the sister, and she's like, I wish I could make some money for this family, and the wink. It just gets me.
And it's so cute when she's like, snuggle me, sis. And you think, because you know Judy was so affectionate, wasn't she? You can imagine that to be what Judy wanted in real life. Bless her.
Well, she was so small you could probably pick her up and put her in your pocket anyway.
I know. Yep. Okay, so next we've got Cafe Nap Out, down on Melody Farm, bus scene. Ricky gets sacked and Judy sent away. So I've got for the Cafe Nap Out and down on Melody Farm. I know you hate this, Connor, but I see foreshadowing to Summerstock and Easter Parade. Summerstock with the dungarees.
Yeah.
And the kind of farm scene, and the kind of down on Melody Farm reminds me of Down on the Farm. And I was born in Michigan. But what I do have as well is you really see Judy's star quality in that big voice coming out here. Really do.
The lights are low, I wanna go, I wanna go, I wanna be a little country girl in calico. The morning sings a golden melody, the evening brings a moonlight symphony, for all the world is wrapped in harmony.
Yeah, I mean, the scene is the song. I actually really like the song. I was actually trying to think the other day. It reminds me of another song. This is Down on Melody Farm. Just the way it's structured. It reminds me of something else, and I can't place what it is. But I felt it sounded very modern, almost, for some reason. And that huge voice at the end when she finishes the song. But yeah, I don't like the dungarees because she's meant to be making her performing debut in this cafe nightclub, and it's dungarees she's wearing. I don't know.
I can understand why they put the dungarees in, because it is about the farm song. The background is like but it was originally filmed in one of their typical frilly dresses. The following scene on the bus, she's actually still in this dress with the fur coat over it. That was originally meant for that song, Down on Melody Farm. I'm presuming they refilmed it because they thought the dress wasn't suitable for that song.
Well,
I actually prefer the dungarees, so I'm out on my own here. So since we brought that up, should we move on to the scene on the bus? Yes. I just want to start by saying, if I was fast asleep and someone started singing and woke me up like that, I wouldn't be very happy. Saying. But I do like this scene.
It's very good. It's another cute scene, you know, with Judy, and everyone is so happy that she's. I actually love the owner of the cafe. He's like, "Oh, Bambino, you'll come back and sing for me." He's like delighted with himself. I have had another summer stock foreshadowing there, Sarah, as you're saying it, because in summer stock you see her coming off stage in the outfit meant for heavenly music that she was never in.
I swear we could do a whole podcast on foreshadows throughout her career. It's eerie how much of her life is foreshadowed in her films.
We'll do one.
Why not?
I'll write that down.
Again, this is another scene where I can't understand why everyone's so horrible to Gerald, because he's in there with them, he's having a ball, they're all laughing. You know, he's supporting them, so why is everyone so horrible to him?
Oh, I meant to add this earlier in when we were in the previous scenes there. When Judy mimics Gerald to her mother in bed, oh my gosh, I thought that was the funniest thing. I was just dying when I saw that. Again, just what a ham. Like, that's Judy in her element right there.
Oh, have we done the next scene, or are we including the next scene in this when they come home after being on the bus, or is that in the next?
No, it's in this section. It's coming to it now.
Oh, you're coming to it. Okay, because I want to say something about that.
Well, we lead into it now, so go ahead. The next scene is when they arrive home, and they're delighted to tell the parents what a hit she was, and the parents don't see it that way, and basically they sack Ricky and they decide to send Judy away. What did you have to say, Connor?
Just when Carly said about being a ham, and they're telling the family that she took 10 bows, and Billy Burke goes, "Judy, don't be a ham." And she goes, "I'm not a ham." And she's like so offended.
You're pleased with yourself? You've lost us another cook.
Oh, Daddy, there was no reason to fire him. We were all of us only trying to help. Sylvia, why don't you tell him how I took 10 bows?
Judy, don't be a ham.
I'm not a ham. And I guess if Caruso started out as a plumber, I've got a chance, too. You can't hold me down. I'm going up.
And that's what the mother was bothered about, was the 10 bells.
Yeah.
But this is well, obviously it's intentional irony, because she is the biggest ham in the film, Billy Burke.
Yeah.
Yes.
But then, so now, any other thoughts on that? So they sack Ricky. Oh, do you know, before you were talking about, so I'm just backtracking, Judy crying in the kitchen. Judy's crying scenes in this film were her first ever crying scenes on film.
Well, they would have been, yeah.
I did think it was funny when Judy, or oh my gosh, I'm brain frogging again, but when Billy Burke is telling Judy that they're going to send her away to Europe, and she starts crying, and the mom starts crying, and then the dad's like, you know, "What are you crying about? Don't start crying." Then he starts crying. Cute.
I thought that was a nice scene actually as well, because it did show that, I suppose, like we were talking earlier about them kind of ignoring her and all of that, but underneath it all, they do love her, obviously. Like, it's, you know, and they were all actually so upset that she was going to go away for a few months to Europe, you know.
It was a nice bonding scene, I guess, between Judy and Billy Burke. I did really like that.
I know, but I know it is necessary, and I want to stay and help you all.
And you're not going to argue. You want to keep your daddy from worrying, don't you? You'll have a lovely time. You'll see picture galleries, cathedrals.
I've seen a cathedral.
Stop that sniffling.
Oh, Mommy. Daddy, I can't go away now. Please, I'd miss you all so much.
Now, don't you start.
Oh,
They're running to cry about absolutely nothing. We'll only be gone a little while. You'll be back. Let me have a hand.
Just before we get to the next musical number,
here we go.
There's the quick scene where she leaves the ship and she's like discussing with the girl And the girl's like, aren't you scared? She's like, oh, me scared, oh poo.
Judy, aren't you scared to death? Me scared? Oh, pooh. Goodbye, goodbye.
And she's very dedicated to her plan as well. If she's gone off and read all the guidebooks for all the different places that they're going and written out the letters as if, I saw the Eiffel Tower today and it was great. I saw St. Peter's Basilica today and it was, you know.
She was committed.
Yeah, committed, yes.
Okay, we'll move on now. So Judy leaves the ship and she decides to audition for Ricky's show. In order to do this, she has to do it in a kind of disguise. And she sings Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. We're not going to go too much into the politics of this, but this is Judy's first appearance in blackface, and this is the actual number that caused a bit of an uproar in the past few years. And it is kind of like, the gestures are exaggerated, you know, they're stereotypical, but we did, on our Mickey Judy podcast, we did put our opinions forward on the fact that Judy was 15 when filming this and had no choice. People didn't realise what they were doing wrong back then. Hollywood was quite slow to catch on. Judy was not the only person who did blackface. Fred Astaire, Al Jolson was famous for it. Doris Day, no one ever mentions Doris Day doing it, but she did do it. We've already made clear how into, here we go, brain frog. Human rights Judy was. We're not going to elaborate anymore now because we did in the last podcast, the Mickey Judy podcast. So I don't know whether either of you want to say anything else on that. If not, we'll just go straight into her actual singing and the number. And then there's a really emotional scene between Judy and Ricky that follows it, which was one of her first really deeply emotional scenes. So I'll open it up.
Oh yeah, I mean, the emotional scene afterwards was very profound. And again, like this, it speaks to her talent and how she was able to basically take your heart and rip it right out of its chest at you know, the drop of a tear. But it's one of the, obviously the first time when we really see that Judy can do a dramatic performance and switch from being a ham in the rest of the film to just completely, you know, making your heart ache with emotions.
So move on. Olga joins up with Judy and Ricky in the next few scenes because she needs to get a letter to Ricky from Sylvia because she's had to pretend to be in love with Gerald to save her parents' marriage, and it's in the newspapers, so she needs to like show Ricky that it's not true, but she doesn't actually get the letter to him because she drops it. She sees Judy and tries to take her back home, and then they convince her to join them, and so Olga, Fanny Bryce, performs Quaity Dainty Me. Any discussions on the scenes around this where Olga joins them?
Don't you mean Quaity Dainty Me?
Richard Back and Wenchins.
Oh.
That used to crack me up all the time when she'd say that. All my life I've been a slave, fettered, bound back and wenchins.
That's brilliant. Or when she's chatting around the whole time going, I've got 4 squabs for dinner.
Oh, as I said to you the other day, why don't you just chop them all off, get rid of all the meat and mix it up in some kind of like rice or stew or something. I mean, she burnt them anyway, so it didn't matter. But
and I actually have a question on that note as well. If Ricky's the cook and Olga's the maid, why was Olga cooking the dinner?
Right?
Yeah, he wasn't very helpful there, was he? He was too busy running around after Sylvia.
I think so, yeah. And it's not like he was there for the dinner, you know. It's like he was working because he trotted in looking for money for the milkman. So
get his uniform on.
Anyway, so any thoughts on these scenes and then them watching Olga's number?
I love Fanny Bryce so much in this that she cracks me up in all of her scenes. And to be honest, I think I'm just cracking up at her and her antics and her Quaity Dainty Me and all this kind of a thing in it, you know, not to take away from Judy's participation naturally, but yeah, I just crack up with Fanny Bryce in this.
She almost steals the show.
She almost does, yeah, she does. But and look, do you know what? Judy was 15 and Fanny was a Ziegfeld legend, and as she should, you know, she wasn't a Ziegfeld legend for nothing.
Yeah, but Judy keeps up with her.
Oh, 100%. Yes, just to clarify, Judy absolutely keeps up with her.
Which leads me into the next part, because then we move on to the show. We've got a few scenes in and around it where they try to take Judy home, and Olga, you know, encourages her to scream for help, which does amuse me. And then we've got Why Because, and then we've got Shall I Sing a Melody, reuniting with the family. So any thoughts on those final two numbers and the final few scenes?
I love the baby Snooks number. I really, really, really do. Why? Because.
What you doing, Snooks?
I've been reading books.
Well, put your books away and let's go out and play.
Why?
Because.
Why?
Because.
It is just such a catchy tune. I love it. It is a little bit strange, but I mean, that's her character. That's Fanny Bryce's character. A very popular radio character that was only brought to the screen once, and it was in that film. And I thought it was perfect.
I don't understand any of the comments about it being strange or whatever, that she's playing the baby character, as it were, because there's he wouldn't be known outside of Ireland, but he passed away a couple of years ago. But there was a very famous Irish comedian called Brendan Grace, and the finale to his stand-up act was always his character called Bottler. And Bottler was like a Dublin schoolboy with like the cap and the shorts, and he'd get changed into it. Like, so, like, to me, it's just, you know, it's, I don't know, it's just entertainment. I love Why Because. It's hilarious. It's just hilarious.
It's today's modern society that makes it weird. It is nothing that they're doing that makes it weird. It is where we are today. That is, you know, that decides whether or not something is appropriate. I don't know.
No, I was just going to say, we had the triplets in the bandwagon.
Yes.
We've had comedians. We had Harry Enfield and Chums played both the teenagers, and then those twins. I don't know whether you had Harry Enfield, Connor. I don't think you will have, Carly, but the with Kathy Burke, the little toddlers who'd like beat each other up. Loads of adults have played babies. I don't really get the fuss. But regarding the Why Because number, one thing I do find Judy very cute in is the little scene. It's another kind of blink and you miss it one, where she's walking away before she comes and says, are you a girl or boy? She's rolling the yo-yo. Have you seen it?
Is you a girl or boy?
I'm known as the Lord Fauntleroy.
Oh.
It's just the way she does the little roll. It's so cute. So yeah, we've spoke about Why Because. Eddie comments on like his scene where the policeman tries to take her, and Olga, you know, tells her to. Well, this does make me laugh. He says, "Scream for help," and they scream for help, and the policeman, without even like interviewing, immediately presume the kidnapper them.
Yeah.
Take them now. Nowadays, they won't do a thing without any, you know, without evidence. They're like, you report on someone screaming somewhere, they're like, oh, we can't do a thing. But then it's like, oh yeah, you're getting kidnapped. So then we move on to our last song, Shall I Sing a Melody? And then a little tiny reprise of Down on Melody Farm, and then she reunites with the family. And this is also where poor Gerald gets chased after by the police because they say he's Ricky and he's not. But yeah, I've got a real big issue with her costume in this finale, but I'll open it out to use.
It's hideous.
It would have been fine without the damn pants. Like,
shall I sing a melody of birds on the wing? Shall I sing of love and spring? Or shall I sing of swing? Hey, swing! Oh!
there's a proper MGM trope back then, if you noticed it. They always have the girls, the pretty girls in the long dresses, lined up sitting on the floor, singing a little slow harmony before the star comes in. Has anyone noticed that? It's like they did it in they didn't Strike Up the Band before the Our Love Affair reprise. I've seen it in a few other 1930s films. I kind of find that a little bit annoying nowadays. A little rant, sorry.
It's okay.
Anything to say on the number though? Judy's actual number. She is quite funny, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I mean, like with this whole film, like there's no, as we said at the beginning, that was a big sigh out of me. I don't know why I did that. It was billed as, you know, a star vehicle, or a star vehicle for Judy. And there's no question her voice, you know, it's starting to really blossom and bloom into that big belting voice that we would know later. Maybe Roger Eden's brought it down a little bit, you know, but I'm just rambling here. Sorry, don't mind me.
Yeah, you do see elements of vaudeville Judy in this film, don't you?
Yeah.
You see.
You do. Like, it's the big voice, you know.
Teacher says I shouldn't sing those Tin Pan Alley songs. I should sing of love and spring, like low hill gentle lark, low hill the gentle lark. But I will not sing of love and spring, for when I sing, I'm gonna sing, I wanna sing, I'm gonna sing of swing. I wanna hear a horn a tootin' against the beat, I wanna feel the muddy waters round my feet, I wanna kill myself a dancing down the street, I wanna stand right up and swing.
Which it's different to, you know, presenting Lily Marr's voice.
I do have a soft spot for presenting Lily Marr's though, for voice, as you know.
Me too. I can't wait to get to it.
So anything else on the actual film?
I don't think so. Oh, the only other thing that I wanted to mention is it's really interesting to see Billy Burke sort of playing Judy's mother. Because we've lost you both now. Oh, now it's just me on the screen. Oh, this is frightening.
I had to yawn.
Hashtag life hack. We can turn off our cameras when we have to do that. I never even thought.
I'm not bored. It's just at the end of the day for me. Where was I? Oh yeah, it's interesting to see Billy Burke playing Judy's mom, because oddly enough, she has a very maternal vibe in Wizard of Oz, playing Glinda. And there's always I've always had it in the back of my head as a little theory. I can maybe expand on this in the Wizard of Oz podcast, but I always had a theory that Glinda was actually Dorothy's mom, because we never see Dorothy's parents. Obviously, she lives with Aunt Em and Uncle Henry, and pretty much everybody in her Oz life or in her Kansas life has a counterpart in Oz, except who's Glinda. We don't know who Glinda is. Can I say something
Connor?
on that?
Yes, Connor.
In the Madison Square Garden 1996-1997 version of Oz, the stage version that they did, the same actress plays Aunt Em and Glinda, which I like.
Yeah.
I like
there we
that.
Go.
But I believe it's a big challenge to do on the stage, because Aunt Em, then the actress only has like 40 seconds to get changed from Aunt Em into Glinda to be there in Munchkinland after the tornado.
Yeah, no, that would be a bit of a tall order.
Yeah,
to get that done. But in the Oz the Great and Powerful, the Disney remake, Glinda mentions that I guess Kansas Glinda, Michelle Williams's character, comes in at the beginning and she's wearing a gingham dress, and she said she's marrying someone named John Gale. So I automatically equated that, that's Dorothy's mom. That's that connection there. And then she's Glinda. So and so I always had that kind of theory, I guess. Anyway, maybe I'm going totally off here, but what my point is, it's fun seeing Billie Burke playing her mother in Everybody Sing, and then Glinda in Wizard of Oz.
Yeah,
that theory would make sense because in Kansas her parents are dead, aren't they? So Glinda could be like her mum's spirit.
yeah.
Well, yeah.
We never know
Yeah,
what
because-
happened to her parents.
No,
so.
and we don't know how old Dorothy was when her parents passed away or what even happened to them. I don't even think in the books, as far as I know, John
Well,
might be able to clarify.
I didn't know till I was reading up on something recently, and I don't know whether this is true, that Dorothy originally was a city girl. That's why she finds Kansas so dull. I was like, where did that come from?
Oh,
Unless it was just a theory.
that's nothing to do with one of those remakes coming up. Is it the Netflix remakey thing, or that's the premise for that?
Oh, could be.
I don't know.
I can't imagine Dorothy as a city girl.
No, she's a farm girl.
Yes, exactly.
So anyway, that's the summary of the actual film. Judy had 2 deleted numbers. Well, actually, one was deleted, one was never filmed. It was just a concept. In the place where Why Because is, there was originally supposed to be a Russian doll number. I'll just leave the camera, between Judy and Fanny Bryce, and it was they were billed as the Russian Dolly Sisters, and the lyrics they were to sing was, and I apologise for my pronunciation, "We're the 2 Booty twins from the Bally Roofs. I'm Yachka the swan, I'm Kachka the goose. We used to dance before the course for the dukes and prince guys. Now do 3 shows on the gangplank down at Minsky's," which I presume they're like pronounced as Minx guys. Can I just say that I'm really glad that reading that I'm so glad that Why Because was replaced it. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's hard to know what way that would have gone down, or how it would have come across. I'm sure Judy would have managed it, and as I say, Fanny Bryce is so funny in it that it probably would. But then, yeah, is it sort of cultural appropriation? You know, I don't know.
Fanny Bryce was playing a Russian in the film, so
Yeah.
I don't know. The other deleted number was it was like an expansion on Swing Mr. Mendelssohn. There is a photo in, can't remember whether it's in this. Yeah, it's on page 42 of World's Greatest Entertainer by John Fricke. It like they're in what looks like Roman garb. The teacher looks like she's in like Roman garb, and like they look like they're in sort of like underwear or something. That was the other deleted number. But that, before I move on to the legacy, Carly, going on about like Judy's relationship with her co-stars, because we spoke about Fanny Bryce and everyone, didn't you have a quote from Alan Jones?
Yes, so there's a very a very sweet quote in John Fricke's A Legendary Film Career. If we could all turn our books to page 83. So he goes on to say, Everybody Sing was a light, sophisticated musical comedy, and Judy was a delightful child. I fell in love with her, and I taught her all the dirty tricks a leading man could do so that she'd be prepared. Because I knew this girl was going to have a great career, and she never forgot it. Whenever we went to a party and she was there or came in, she'd run over and throw her arms around me and kiss me and thank me. This went on for years. So very, very sweet, very, very sweet. And yeah.
And of course, she performed with...
You're just about to say what I was going to say, Connor.
Yeah, go for it.
On her show, yeah.
It's
his son, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought Jack Jones was quite dishy as well.
Yeah, I did too.
And I preferred him, his singing style, than Alan Jones's.
Yeah, the operatic.
Yeah. But no,
and of course, the great joke on the television show that I actually use to this day from Judy, when they're doing their medley and they mention the year 1936, and Jack Jones says, "Yeah, that was the year I was born," and Judy goes, "Nobody was born in 1936. And I say that to this day when I come across like somebody born in the year 2000 or something. Nobody was born in 2000.
Right, so we'll move on to the legacy of the films. We're almost done. But Judy was sent on an East Coast tour to promote the film with her mum and Roger Edens. 7 weeks, 7-stop personal appearance tour of movie theatres, open at Broadway's Low State on the February the 10th. And then Variety raved about the saying the youngster is a resounding wallop with personality and still to develop in box office wow in any line of show business. She encored twice, finally begging off. She could have stayed on indefinitely. This is definitely foreshadowing Judy's concert career. And then there's some these two very sweet recollections by Roger Edens. The first one is in Wales Greatest Entertainer, page 41. He remembers that despite Garland's experience and professionalism, she had the sensitivity to be petrified of her first New York opening, so much so that she couldn't control her voice and the audience was initially unimpressed. Then during her second song, he heard a baby begin to cry somewhere in the balcony, shuddering and whining exactly like Judy was singing. Somebody in the audience tittered. Judy took a breath, but couldn't get the next note out. I didn't know whether she was going to panic. She didn't. She broke into an infectious little girl grin and started to giggle. The audience laughed. Judy laughed with them. The house roared. That did it. I never heard such an ovation for an unknown kid as she got. So
I remember reading that story. I think that's in the Gerald Frank book as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but it shows a professionalism at that age as well.
Oh yeah.
It reminds me of the again, this whole thing, I think the subtitle is going to have to be foreshadowing, but it reminds me of like when she fell on her bum in the London Palladium and just giggled, you know?
Yeah.
And she said that's one of the most ungraceful exits I've ever made.
Yeah. And there's a photo of her like being picked up off the stage. It's just, you know, she's so down to earth.
And then the other quote I've got from Roger Edens, it's surrounding Ethel Merman. You know, we were discussing about Judy being on the same level as Sophie Tucker, Fanny Bryce. This happened on the Everybody Sing tour as well. He said, meeting Judy was a great moment for me. Merman was the first real pro singer in my life. The next was Judy. I came to MGM and Judy came to my life in another year. I worked with her exactly the way I work with her in New York. Now at the time I would go east once or twice a year. I would always see Ethel and I started telling her about Judy. I've got this wonderful kid out there, greatest singer that I've ever known. Wait till you see her. Well, Ethel was very cute because she was a tiny bit jealous. Well, who is this? Who is this? And I said, well, she's just a little kid. Ethel, well, what's she like? You're not showing her any pics, are you? So I had to placate her. Oh, just forget about it. The next year, Judy was 15. I took her to New York to appear at Low State. I played for her. Well, Ethel was there practically at the first matinee. And when I took Judy to meet her, Ethel was just darling with her. So you took my man kidding about me and Judy was sheepish. Oh, yes. Over a period of years, Ethel would come out here to make pictures and finally they got very friendly and very close. They saw quite a lot of each other. One night after dinner at my house, we started this real rivalry thing. They decided to see which could outsing the other. It was the greatest thing I've ever known. They just died laughing at each other. Ethel would say, remember the one I used to sing? You used to do it for me. And then she would sing. And then Judy said, well, he did an old one for me. Finally ended up singing duets. It was one of the great, great evenings. So can you imagine witnessing them trying to sing each other?
We're the last of the big belters, Judy. It's very sort of, you know, Elaine Stritch-esque, you know, being at the parties. And isn't there another story that, was it Ralph Blaine or somebody like that, that Judy and Kay Thompson were together somewhere and Judy turns around and says, Kay, let's just sing real loud. And they, you know, out-sing each other at the party.
It was on the A&E biography, that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was, I can't remember his name. But no, I know what you mean. Right, I'll finish off with some reviews of everybody's thing involving Judy. So the Chicago Tribune said, very gay, which meant happy back then, has a different context, talking about context 1930s. Very amusing, very tuneful. I recommend it to everybody. Little Miss Judy Garland, completely sure of herself at all times, has a number of arresting scenes. One you'll find a hard time forgetting it is that where Alan Jones tells her she must go back to her parents. I cried a bit right there. Judy and Fanny Bryce tell you some interesting things to music in great style. But another review from Picturegoer, Judy Garland sings swing songs with the air of a veteran. There is no doubt that this young lady will go far. And then Cleveland Plain Dealer said, good fun. Judy Garland is now unquestionably the screen's #2 juvenile singing actress. She hasn't had her chance to compete wholly with Deanna Durbin, and she comes through swinging it with song and comedy. Now, those reviews predicted her stardom. I'm pretty sure she'd be the #1 singing actress above Deanna Durbin. Anything you want to add on the reviews or the legacy of the film, anything?
It's just such a pity that in one way, because it is an enjoyable, harmless film, and it's just such a pity that there's a certain, I'm trying to think of the right way to put this, maybe the reputation has been a little bit tarnished of the film because of a particular scene and a particular song, which is such a pity because it's great.
It's a wonderful film. It's a film that's just, it's filled with a lot of fun. And it's one of those movies that it's a feel-good movie, right? It's something that you can watch that's lighthearted, doesn't require a whole lot of thinking, and you can just go into it and expect to laugh and expect to have a good time. And again, you know, as I've already mentioned before, it's great to see Judy with Billy Burke. It's great to see Judy with Fanny Bryce and everybody else that makes up the cast. Everyone played so well together. They had great chemistry together. You see Judy as finally the leading lady, I guess, or leading young lady, as it should be. And it's all her. You don't have to wait, 20, 25 minutes of film before you see her. She's the first thing you see when the film comes on. And she's doing her thing right when you see her. She's being herself. She's belting out that tune. She's swinging, she's dancing. And it's a great film. I don't know what else I could add.
Very nicely put.
Thanks.
I think you two just sum that up perfectly. So I've got nothing else to add. And on that note, we will end this podcast. Thanks for joining us as always. And it's been wonderful to have Carly back. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel and ring that bell so you don't miss on future podcasts, top 10s, anything. And if there's any, we do have a whole schedule of podcasts and content planned for quite a while, but if there's anything you feel like you would like to see, pop it in the comments, and if we haven't already got it on our schedule, we'll pop it on. And please like our video and share our channel to other Judy or classic movie fans. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks everybody.
Thanks everyone. Bye.